CS greetings, CSGOers and other esports fans, because of course we have somebody tonight who is probably more under the other category than CSGO in recent history, but he does have a CS team. Had the champion Dota 2 team in the Telkom Masters tournament from last year. It's WRG's supreme overlord, the glorious leader, Alwyn. SwiTch. How's it going, man?
How's it? Yeah, all right. How you doing?
Fantastic. I'm pretty good considering it's a weekday night and we're not playing Counter Strike. What is this?
Yeah, I completely relate. So, unfortunately, grown-up things.
Yeah, well, I mean, you're getting to go on holiday tomorrow, so congratulations on being awesome and having a nice long weekend there.
Yeah,
Uh,
thanks. Much needed.
yeah, well, I mean, you guys have been busy. And talking about being busy, of course. Before you go off and get a little bit of rest, I thought let's catch you and let's catch up a bit and look back a bit at your career as an MGO owner and the history of your MGO, so people can kind of understand where you guys are from and what you're all about. And I think it'll be really interesting. I mean, the only other one that I've looking back video that I've done with an MGO owner so far was sent from Bravado, and that was decidedly different in tone. I think because we were talking about very more recent sort of international CS events that they'd been at. And I think your guys' history is a little bit more varied and quite interesting as well.
Yeah, it is actually quite an interesting one. So, I assume you just want me to tell you where it all
Go
started.
for it. Go for it.
Okay. So, yeah, White Rabbit Gaming actually started in 2008. So, one of my friends made the mistake to introduce me to World of Warcraft,
Oh,
which I'm pretty sure. Yeah, exactly.
wrecked.
Yeah,
Social
exactly.
life destroyed.
And two accounts as well
Oh
because
wow.
of buying gold. So anyway, don't do that. Apparently, you get caught. So yeah, how it started, it was just me and a bunch of friends. So me and one guy, and then eventually a few guys from work. So we started a guild, and we called that White Rabbit Gaming. And then yeah, we moved on around about 2010. Yeah, so we were online for about 2 years, and then during 2010 they released StarCraft 2, and that's when I really started picking up gaming again because I was a massive StarCraft fanatic. I loved the game, played tons like everyone else. Also got into Brood Wars, and with the new one that came out during the beta phase, I played a little bit of it. Discovered I'm actually not half bad at it. And when the full version was released and DGL picked it up as a title, I decided I want to actually join one of the MGOs to improve my skill. Not thinking that I want to actually expand into the competitive gaming scene, but just want to test out the waters. So I applied to multiple MGOs at that point in time, and they either just didn't get back to me or they just told me that I'm bad, which in all fairness I was. I was bronze, and thought I could conquer the world. But yeah, so from there onwards, I quickly realized that this industry is very, very limited. It's a very small industry, and it was almost very clicky at that point in time. You had the MGOs
Probably
that
still the same now, to
I
to a
think
large
it's
degree.
I actually think it's relaxing a lot more. You can actually go at events now and be a complete outsider and then engage with people as well, which I
Well,
which I
that's good
really
to
enjoy.
hear.
But so yeah, then I decided, you know what, if no one is actually gonna help me do this, then I'm just gonna do it on my own. And I actually took the tag, White Rabbit. That was my tag that I started with, and tried to do the same thing, that like Grubby did, Team Grubby, where he built his
Hmm.
entire brand around that. So thought I would do that, and then when I realized that there's really no community for gamers, so wherever casual players actually want to go and spend time and learn how to grow, there's really no platform for that. And that's when I decided, you know what, I'm going to create something that allows everyone to just play and meet up and play games with one another. So from there, me and myself, Martin Swithin, one of the other owners, we created a 2v2 team in StarCraft. We did fairly well, picked up a few other guys, and just grew the entire MGO or clan at that point in time. We entered a few competitions, climbed through the ladders, ended I think we ended in first division. We had a few guys end in Prem as well. Had a few guys go to DGL, I think in 2013. We had a few guys 2014 as well when they dropped it. And then in 2014, we actually had our first League of Legends team, which guys like Scary, pretty sure you remember him from StarCraft days. Pablo, Dave, all of those guys still playing for us, and they went on to finish. I think it was top 8 that they finished, which for our first appearance at a DGL, I was actually really, really impressed.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, it was fantastic. The whole. I still remember it was my first rage that I attended in the competitive sense, and it was everything that people said it would be. It was competitive. It was intense. The people were amazing. The people that you encountered, rage that year was just absolutely fantastic. And then at the beginning of 2015, me and Martin sat down and decided, we should actually decide now: are we going to do this properly and go into the competitive scene, because we saw it literally exploding overseas. So we sat down, we had a bit of a chat, probably had a couple of too many beers, and we decided, what, we're going to do this. And then we got Wayne on board as well, Edsky. He's the third shareholder as well. And from there onwards, we registered the company, and then we were looking for a Dota 2 team as well. And Julian, at that point in time, Julian Spring, he's actually the captain of our development team at the moment. He told me, well, I was speaking to him, and I'm like, yes, I really want to put a Dota 2 team together to actually kickstart this thing and see how it's going. And he put me in touch, or he mentioned that his friend Travis, that they used to play with together at the MSSA, they've got a team, and they're actually very good. I should actually look at these guys, because no one seems to be picking them up. So they were playing the Gigabyte tournament at that point in time. So they sent us a stream link. We went on, and we just went like, oh my word, these guys are fantastic. So they put us in touch with the team, and I spoke to Ryan, spoke to the other guys, and we literally almost like fell in love with the team, because they were literally these down to earth, great guys, really, really nice to speak to, really humble. And we started talking, asked if they would come and play for us. We'll fly them up to Rage, pay all of their costs, etc. And they were quite keen. And from there onwards, it was literally, the rest is history. 2016, obviously, with a Masters announcement, we had to get a CSGO team together, which I'm pretty sure you'll ask me about a little bit later. But so yeah, it was from there onwards the work really started, and we haven't looked back at it for a day. It's been amazing. Loved every minute of it.
I'm glad to hear that you guys are so passionate about it. I mean, for some people it's a business, for some people it's passion, and for some people it's both. And I think you've got the mix right. I mean, I think you need a little bit more passion than the business, but you also do need the business brain a little bit as an MGO owner. And some guys don't have that, unfortunately. I mean, it's not something I was planning to ask you about. But what I do notice about your team is, I mean, you got very strong support from Aces. I recall bumping into my old team captain Hulkies at DGC Masters last year, and he's showing me his like awesome noise cancelling Aces headset that he was using. Like, check this out, bro! It's the coolest thing. And I mean, it's just to me, I looked at that and I thought, wow, your guys' sponsors are really getting behind you and helping the team. I mean, in an environment like that, noise cancelling headset is absolute godsend. So, I mean, how did the Aces thing come about for you guys?
So the Aces thing is also quite an interesting one. We were actually looking for a sponsor, or actually just someone to make shirts for us for the when was it, the 2015? Yeah, 2015 Rage. We wanted shirts, and then Rowan actually came across a competition that Aces was running, or Asus, sorry, was running on their.
Is that how you say it? I'm sorry.
Asus, yeah.
Asus,
yeah.
Okay, well.
So yeah, not a lot of people know, but
I've heard it all different ways. Even international people, they do a video of it and they call it various versions in the same video. So
apparently, it's got something to do with the alphabet. There's no I sound. That's why it's Asus.
Oh,
so
okay.
I haven't done any research on it, but it makes sense.
In Taiwanese or
Mandarin, I think.
Oh, okay. Well,
yeah.
Taiwan is China if you ask China, and Taiwan's independent if you ask them. So
when I ever travel there, I will ask them. So yeah, he came across a competition on Facebook, and all we had to do was send in like a team photo, and we had this photo where we printed all of our shirts the year before, where we had like a massive group like standing and posing for a photo. So we sent that in, and we were one of the lucky teams to actually win that. So we then during the weekend, we just felt it's just the right thing. They sponsored our shirts, so to constantly go to their stand, support their stand, keep them updated with what's happening, with the scores, how the teams are doing, etc., etc. Not thinking too much of it, because at that point in time, we were really grateful to get shirts, which was a big thing at that point in time. And then afterwards, they actually contacted us and said that they're looking at sponsoring teams, and we need to submit a proposal. And then we sat down, planned exactly what we're going to be doing for the year, and what kind of support we required and things like that. Submitted the proposal, and we got selected. And from there onwards, it's really been a fantastic road. Aces is a great sponsor. They, dealing with the people, they're very down to earth, which is fantastic. They get as passionate about us winning and losing as we do. A lot of evenings I would sit, like last night, or the night before that. I asked Frances, if she wants to, like just meet up and catch up to chat about things, and she's like, maybe tomorrow, because on Monday night I'm watching Ventus versus White Rabbit Gaming. I'm like, aha, like that. So no, they get very much involved. They're really fantastic having on board.
That's awesome. I mean, again, I've been around a lot of teams in MGOs and looked at how they do things, and I mean, probably the only other guys that probably rival you guys in terms of the how visible that relationship is probably Aperture with their MSI thing, and F3 with their Aorus thing. I mean, the guys do seem to do well. Of course, I mean, I'm leaving out BVD, but
Yeah,
anyway,
sure.
but it's just interesting, the brand synergy that was there, because I also recall going to the mall gaming experience. I think it was it sometime kind of the sort of time last year. I think it was.
Yeah, March, April. Yeah.
Yeah, March, April. I recall going to the one, and I just recall seeing, despite the fact that it was a gigabyte event where your players were when they were on camera, there's these like banners with ASUS behind them. I'm like, yeah, look at that baller.
Yeah, no, look, the Aces thing actually, to me, when they actually approached us and said they're looking at sponsoring us, it was a dream come true to me, because I've always been, literally since my first PC that I owned, most of the parts in there were Asus parts as well. So actually having them on board as a sponsor is almost a childhood dream come true. We're extremely proud of the brand. We're extremely proud of the association. We think they've got some really good trademarks, and we've got some really good synergies between the brands as well. And that's one thing that you cannot stress enough. A lot of teams are looking at just picking up sponsors left, right, and center, but that brand synergy and alignment is actually so crucial for your brand, because it makes the whole relationship easier, and it makes negotiations easier. It makes feedback easier. It's just, I would say, just as a tip for anyone looking for sponsors, look for that. Look for a brand that actually shares your brand values, and look at the market the same way that you do. So, and I think that's what's been working for us so well.
Well, you used the word synergistic, so that's a tick in the marketing box for you. Now you just need to use the word organic, and what's the other one? Vertically aligned. Let's go with that one, and then marketing degree stamp.
Yeah, fair enough. You shouldn't forget about prioritizing. That's also quite a big one.
Prioritization, yeah.
And return on investment. That's the other big one. Hey, so
The ROI, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting though. Like as you mention those terms, but I can see you really mean it, and it's why I remark on it again. And I mean, I hope people don't think I'm somehow getting paid by ASUS, yeah. But it's just it's interesting to see how you guys have made it work for yourselves, because when I look at a lot of teams, they're looking for sponsors. They want somebody to give them gear and or money, but they don't really have any idea of how that company is going to get anything out of this relationship. Because it's clear what you're going to get. You're going to get headsets and mice and keyboards and stuff, and maybe some pay for your players or whatever. But what are they going to get? And I think that's the thing that a lot of MGOs forget about. I mean, myself, I actually was with my company. We co-sponsored the mall gaming thing. And what was interesting about it is FTV are quite good at telling you what you're going to get out of it. But at various points last year, I was approached by other people as well, teams and stuff. And some of the guys that talk to you like, what do I get out of this again? It's like, I'm trying to figure this out. And yeah, I just, as an independent person looking at that and having been involved as a sponsor before, I really think what you guys got going is very cool. And they, especially now the fact that you guys won Masters 2016 in the first year with your Dota 2 squad over Bravado, who were probably a little bit more fancy than you guys were. I think they must have been absolutely overjoyed with the exposure they got there.
No, they were, and they actually made it very clear to us as well. And that actually started right before Rage even started. The guys had a very good feeling about it, so they put all of their faith in us. And yeah, needless to say, after Rage, we celebrated really, really hard.
Well, I saw you at the
And
after party, so I saw all you guys. Well, you didn't recognize me. I don't think you were recognizing anybody at that point, but
not really, no. I was literally riding that way for a very, very long time. I think all of us were. It's really something that from the beginning of the year we said this is what we want to do. This is what we are going to be doing. So it was literally 10 odd months of very, very hard graft, hard work, lots of blood, sweat, and tears. But the guys made it work, So yeah, all kudos, and I mean obviously sponsors are happy, so we're happy.
yeah, everybody's happy. It was also incredible to be there for that because I mean, your guys' whole winning moment, the literal ecstasy on the faces. I mean, it was a magical moment. I mean, the pictures of it don't do it justice. So it really was amazing. And I think the stream didn't do it justice, but if you were there in person, it was just it was unbelievable. So you know, I think for you guys, again, looking at it, I mean, Castaway is such a key player for your team, and it's interesting that you mentioned him first when you were talking about picking up the team. I mean, he seems to be a real sort of positive force in your team and in the local scene. And
Mm.
well, right now, you guys are the team to beat.
That's true, and I say that with all humility. It is something that the guys have been working very hard at. They've been putting in insane hours. If you look at the competitions that they've been playing behind the scenes, because we don't really focus only on the South African competitions. We obviously have the ones that we play in, but they really training with most of the European guys and contacts that they've made at the moment, and that's been helping tremendously. If you have a look at their drafts at the moment, they don't necessarily would stick to one type of draft. The guys have diversified so well that if there's a character that's really or a character in game that's really overpowered and really key, but it's needed in mid, and for instance, for some unknown reason, Travis can't play it, someone else might play it. They can make that swap, which I think is a really big challenge for a lot of people. And the guys, as I said, have been practicing incredibly hard to expand their hero pools, expand their strategies, and then also actually look at how they can make it work for them.
Well, I think that what you're mentioning there about playing European opponents. I had various chats over the last while with Halberd and Prophecy, the two Dota 2 casters, and of course I also do a CSGO series with Prophecy because, as it turns out, he knows as much about Counter Strike as he knows about Dota, which is quite a lot. And he was saying to me that your guys' approach is something that he really admired, and that you guys were playing European ranked games and playing in that space to actually learn the way they play. Because if you look historically at South African esports, not just Dota, generally we tend to be quite isolated because of ping and things like that. Dota, at least it's manageable, so you're able to jump on there and learn from them and compete. And I think definitely in games like CS:GO, which I'm much more involved with, that's something that we don't get. We have to get on a plane and go and do that. And your guys' approach to the game definitely, again, me being very limited in Dota knowledge, what I'm being told by Prof and Halvard is that you guys approach the game with a more sort of international mindset into how the game is played. And as you're mentioning, that dynamism and fluidity of roles where you can switch it up if you need to, so that the guy is comfortable with that particular character and the item sets and whatever can actually play that character to suit your pick band versus the other team. It's really impressive to see. So that whole approach, was that thinking, did that come from Travis, or was it something the team spoke about?
It's actually just something the team spoke about. So they decided where they want to go, and we've also got goals that we have, or dreams and ideals that we have for them, which we're currently busy implementing. So stick around. There's some big news coming from White Rabbit Gaming on multiple fronts during the year, which we will announce in time. But we definitely very focused on all of our players. The Dota guys specifically, they've really shown themselves that they want to take it to that next level, and it's our job as an MGO to make that happen. And then regarding the whole international thing, that's what they've been focusing on. If you look at all of the competitions that they've been playing, I don't know if you saw our recent post, but they participated in the qualifiers for the Kiev majors, which is happening. I think it's happening in April now. And yeah, we ended top 60 or 64 teams that actually qualified. We lost against the old Alliance players,
Oh,
which is
really?
called Horde. So, but all of them are like 8K plus, and these guys could actually stand up and stand toe to toe with these guys. They're incredibly skilled, and I do think that as soon as you put them into that European scene, I think these guys are going to blossom really, really well.
That's really exciting. I think a lot of people would be excited to think of a South African team being over there and making waves. So if that's within the realm of plans, and of course you don't need to directly tell me that because you want to
Sure.
have your big announcement. Again, I'm making it sound like I know. I really don't know, but it's
I guess you're gonna have to wait and see.
yeah,
What is coming.
I'm gonna have to wait
So
and see. But certainly from my point of view, it would be amazing for South African esports in general, regardless of the game. The fact that that your guys would be out there potentially and actually competing, because I think the attempts to go and compete overseas have been fairly frequent, but haven't always been that successful. And if you talk to a guy like Apocalypse, I did a video with him a little while ago from DC, and 10 years ago we were actually competing fairly favorably in CS:GO terms on overseas events, but that's, I mean, as things have got more expensive with travel, that sort of thing has died off now, where it's a very hard graft and a lot of money to actually get a team over there. I think potentially if you guys could go over there and make some waves, it would just be amazing for everybody. And as you say, being able to compete against the ex-Alliance player as well. Okay, I didn't catch that part. I'm going to go back and read that again, but that's amazing stuff. So I'm glad to see that you guys are thinking that way, because for me, what's always interesting when talking to Send from Bravado, for instance, is the focus on the overseas mindset, and it's kind of like where he's thinking the whole time. And I think that also will in turn bring more viewership to South Africa and more sort of spotlight on the scene here, is just being out there.
I think in a sense, yes, I do agree with that. But as I told you right at the beginning, the White Rabbit Gaming brand was actually found on community and actually being very inclusive. So our TeamSpeak server is open to anyone. Anyone can join, anyone can play, and if there's people that they want to play pickup games with, always welcome. There's no restrictions. We don't say no one can join or whatever. The important bit is we still have a very small community in South Africa. I don't think there's near enough players that play. Yeah, fair enough. We've got the DGL, we've got Metal State, we've got Mega 8, all of these tournaments popping up at the moment. I don't think it's enough. I think we need to actually grow beyond that. And there's ways that we can do it. So in terms of our focus, our focus is very much it's a dual strategy. On the one side is the Dota team with the international goal. That's where they want to go, and we know that these guys are at least tier 2, if not lower tier 1 quality, because they're really fantastic. If you just watch them play against these top teams, it's phenomenal. And I think if you put them in a situation where they can constantly scrim some of the top teams in the world, there's no doubt that they are going to get better at it. And they're actually just going to shift it into overdrive to actually constantly compete there. But the other side, what we shouldn't forget is actually focusing on that local community and not forget about the guys that's actually here. Hence the reason why we started 2 developmental teams. So we've got some really good talent. If you look at our CS:GO team, some really new guys there. Some of the guys are like Ian, QQ. He's been around for some time, but the passion that guy just has for the community is admirable. He would sit down, he would discuss with the team, tell them exactly what to do, tell them his plans, get input from the guys, and then just run with it. Whenever they lose, there's a lot of emotion. Same with our Dota 2 team as well. So Julian got some great guys together, really good MMRs as well, but we want to grow these guys through the ranks. Many of those guys are still like around about, I think, 14, 15 years old, which is fantastic. These are the guys that you want to pick up and grow together. So the international scene is important, but I think in terms of actually helping the scene explode and grow, you have to focus locally as well.
Yeah, I think the community aspect that you guys have got, you are getting right. I must say, when I cast WRG games, the WRG fans are really great in the chat. I mean, I usually know with certain teams when I cast them that I will get some abuse from some of their fans, but it doesn't happen from you guys.
No, we love our fans. We, we essentially, as we say, White Rabbit Gaming would be nothing without our players and without our supporter base. So whenever we see the fans get so passionate, man, that really gets me going, because that's exactly when I was like small. That's what gaming was about, is getting together with everyone, having a jam, having a good time, and yeah, just making it fun. And that's also what's going to be drawing a lot of people into it. So yeah, I absolutely love the fans. I think they're fantastic. Plus one.
Yeah, it's interesting to see your dual approach going international, thinking about the local fans as well. I think both of those do go hand in hand. Often, I mean, there's also some guys are saying, okay, well, it's internationals where we got to focus, and they don't really put anything into growing the local player base or the fan base. And I mean, part of a conversation I had with Tech Girl last week was where she was sort of saying that the way players engage with fans on social media is kind of important in the way players engage with other players who are not in their team, who are just a random person that they found in a matchmaking game or whatever it may be. Um, that friendliness that you know is often lacking locally. I think I mean it's maybe a weird thing to suggest, but I don't mind that people have Twitter spats. That's some great character there. That's some entertainment. But when you're playing a game and you play with a player from like an MGO and the guy's like telling you off the whole time about how terrible you are and all of that, it doesn't make that player go, "Hey man, I really want to keep playing this game. Pro players are awesome. He just told me that he's going to do something weird to my mother, and is that how I came about? I was like 12 years old trying to figure out the birds and the bees, and some like pro players explaining it to him. It's not cool. I mean, how do you look at that as an MGO owner? Is it something that you say to the guys on your team? Hey, please be respectful to other players when you're out there, because I mean these guys are essentially fans.
It is one of the things that we're I would almost say wouldn't tolerate is the whole, for the lack of a better word, the whole elitist vibe around it, because as you said, it's not doing the community any favors. And what we have seen is that because our players are very approachable, there's a lot of times, I mean, these like sale gatherings and things like that, where people
Mm-hmm.
ask, would White Rabbit Gaming be willing to do that? There's some other stuff happening behind the scenes as well, where people ask, would White Rabbit Gaming be willing to send some of their players or their coach or whatever to go and help out? I think it's crucial, because if you look at of any other sports, and I know a lot of people hate me comparing like to rugby or soccer or
I'm
anything
quite
like
okay
that.
with it. Go for it.
Okay, as long as you're fine with it, it's fine. But if you look at something like that, a player like Ryan Kankowski, okay, he's actually very involved. He's a big gamer himself, and whenever he's around and people approach him, he's like super approachable. John Smith, all of these other big rugby players as well, and people then look at the person side as well as the professional side, and they go like, wow, I really want to be like that. I really want to be that successful. So it's really important to build those dreams. And it's, as you said, when you are playing against someone and you are that role model, you're now the professional player within the scene, and you're condescending, you're talking down to people, you don't have time for them or whatever. That doesn't really promote gaming at all. People just think, oh my word, this guy is really, a very unpleasant person. And I think that's wrong. I think it's really important to be inclusive up to a point where you can, because then you also need to take into consideration these guys' training schedules. There's so many tournaments popping up this year so far. I know my CS team is actually battling as well with so many tournaments that's popping up, and so you need to find that balance. But I do think that a little bit of courtesy goes a long way, and it costs you nothing. So just be a little bit tolerable. People are going to screw up when they play, but coach them rather than reprimand them.
Yeah, no, absolutely agree. I mean, before we went live, we were just quickly saying hello and getting a couple of things set up to actually do this. And one of the little anecdotes there was about when you first tried CS:GO and what people said to you. There's these things. I recall. I mean, I played a different game before CS:GO. I played Team Fortress 2, which is quite
Okay.
quite quite a different vibe. I mean, it hasn't been at DGC for a very long time. I think the last time it was there was like 2009 or something. So it was a very small scene, but uh, yeah, it was friendly to a degree. But then there were also these sort of elitists like you get in CS:GO. I mean, I first started there. One of the players who actually now is a pro CS:GO player who plays in one of the teams. I haven't spoken to him since TF2 days, funny enough, but he told me that I was so terrible that I should never ever pick up a mouse again and I should give up and like throw my computer outside or something. I can't remember the exact words, but it was something like that. And I was like, wow, I'm so inspired. I just want to keep playing because somebody said this to me. It's like it's I mean, I just look at that and go, okay, well, I was a little bit older by that point, so it didn't bother me. But like if you're 14 and some guy tells you this, and he's a one of the people that guys look up to, you would just be crushed, like
Mm,
um, it's interesting. I kind of feel like it's a topic that doesn't get spoken about enough, just because again, and I've always been a huge rugby fan. I was actually involved with rugby to a little degree early on in my working career, writing and stuff. So
okay.
that was interesting. And to me, what I've always found amazing, as you mentioned Ryan Kankowski and John Smith. Any pro rugby players, they're always very approachable. You go to them at their training thing and talk to them or whatever, and they'll talk to you. As long as something negative didn't just happen or something like that,
Of
they're
course.
they're quite happy to talk to you. And it's amazed me when I've gone to the last year to events and seen how players interact with people around them. They don't really talk to fans usually, or sort of entertain that. And I really feel like another crucial part of the growth in South Africa is that players become almost celebrity-like in the way that people think of them, in the sense of like, I want to be like that. Where
Mm.
they want autographs, because I don't really see like people like fighting for autographs at events yet. But I think we need to get there, and I think part of that is just making players exciting personalities, but also approachable personalities. And I think you hit the nail on the head with how you described, how that should be. But yeah, I guess it's just a bugbear of mine. I mean, we didn't plan to talk about it, but we
Yeah, yeah.
we got there.
Look, as I said, I do think the community is getting a lot better, and also when I entered this community, I was slightly petrified because of my experience that I had when I tried to apply in 2010 playing StarCraft. But that trepidation that I had entering the community was actually soon put to bed. I started speaking to a lot of people and soon realized that flipping hell, there's actually a lot of really cool guys
Yeah,
in
they
in
are.
this industry. And what I found is generally the guys that's a little bit temperamental are usually the introverts as well. And we know that introverts prefer to be just left alone, and that's fine as well. But I do think that the industry is moving very rapidly to becoming a lot more approachable, a lot more like day to day, guys like you and me, which I absolutely love because you can look at them as like a great person and then look at them as having this insanely amazing skill as well.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's key to be able to identify with the people that you see and go like, hey, I could do that. I should play this game, kind of thing. Of course, I mean, when you get to our age group, then then you're kind of banishing those thoughts again. But it's for the youngsters, right?
Yeah, that's very, very true. I discovered that managing is way more fun than playing because I don't lose as often.
Oh, okay. Manager always wins when it comes to payday, right?
Well, that's if you work for yourself, yeah. But I guess if you
Yeah.
work for a boss, it never changes,
I
you
was just
know.
giving you
So.
a hard time, man. But hey, let's talk a little bit about. I mean, we've spoken a bit about Dota. I mean, we'll go into CS in a moment. With the advent of Masters, I mean, it was you guys obviously won the first season, which was a tremendous achievement. Going into that season, I mean, there was the big launch events in Midrand, and it all looked very cool. I mean, were, were you guys at that stage in the year already going like, "Hey, we're going to take home this money," or was it more a case of, "Hey, we're going to do our best," and as you went into the year, the goal suddenly became we're gonna be number one?
No, that conversation actually started right at the beginning. So right after the launch, we well, I think it may have actually been at the launch when we were holding the trophy. Um, I think we all got together and
You don't
then we
want to give the
decided.
trophy back, was that it?
Well, we didn't, because it was actually quite nice, having like like an official big trophy for a big competition, that you hold. So, but yeah, we obviously spoke to the guys and told them that we have no doubt that they have the ability to win that trophy. And when we spoke to our sponsor ASUS as well, we told them that don't worry, we've got one goal in mind, and that's winning Masters. And we told them that from the beginning, and the guys delivered. We worked hard, they practiced, put in a lot of hours, and that's what happened. Yeah, so the goal was there literally from the start, is if there's one competition that we need to win that in 2016, Rage must be it.
Yeah, well, it's interesting that you got the fairy tale ending. You even got the confetti. It was amazing,
It was
and you
amazing.
and you had the trophy, and with the lights and the crowd and everything, it was wonderful. I mean, during the course of the year with Bravado, you guys gave them a lot of stick throughout the year. I mean, there were some epic finals, best of fives a couple of times as well, which I mean, you don't see a lot in CS:GO, but it seemed to be a bit more prevalent in Dota. And I mean, you guys almost always went all the way. There really was. I mean, aside from maybe Aperture, it was really a two-horse race. Throughout the year, I mean, it was an incredible rivalry because you have guys like Donny, who's was very outspoken and controversial at times. I mean, it was an interesting rivalry. I mean, how was it from the inside?
What's particularly between MGOs and
Yeah, yeah.
players? Yeah, look, I mean, I loved every single minute of it. When we went, I think the place where I got to know a lot of the people a little bit more closely in terms of one-on-one was when we went to WESG. That was an experience and a half when the guys played in Dubai, and I actually got time to speak to Robbie, get to know him, get to speak a little bit to to guys like to Habibi and all of those guys as well. And you know what? Even though it's the face that they put up, you can go to any player. Adestam, same thing. I was actually quite scared of this guy because I didn't know him. But after I spoke to him, I found out he's a pretty funny guy. So to me, that experience is great. And if you go to events, you can actually have a look. All of the guys, the players, stand and chat to one another. They before, after games, it doesn't matter. There might be a little bit of friendly banter. You can see it in the chats as well when they play. But there's this camaraderie between the players that's really, it's almost touching to see that all of us play together, but we're still mates as well. It's incredible. I've been exposed to so much good in the gaming community over the last year that it's just amazing. I hope it just keeps on growing from strength to strength, and people actually take the good out of that rather than focus on the bad.
Yeah, that's awesome to hear. I mean, I must also echo that sentiment. I mean, despite in the public eye, it looks like people are fighting with each other the whole time. The funny thing is, generally at events, guys are actually very cool with each other.
Mm.
I guess it's also easy to be big mouth online, and not so easy to do it in person. You want to be kind of friendly because this guy's kind of big, right? But
That's actually very, very true. I spoke to who was it? I think I spoke to Alistair um, a couple of months ago, a couple of weeks ago, about the same thing. Where we were just discussing things in general between the MGO owners,
that's
and
Alistair from DC, right?
yeah, Alistair
Mhm.
Behrman, and that's exactly what he said as well. With Anthony was actually in the conversation as well, where we said that I think the reason why there's so many strong young personalities at the moment is because there's not enough LAN events. Because you wouldn't have had this that long ago, because all of the LAN events, everyone gets together, banter, 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 play the game, and have a braai or whatever together. But I
Mm.
don't think we're kind of losing that, which is quite sad. And that's why I think it's also really important that the guys actually bond a lot more at these events. You speak to your fellow players, get to know your audience, get to know your fans. It really goes a long way, and it's also very humbling.
Yeah, very much so. I mean, I've had a few times where I've been contacted by people and say, "Oh, we really like what you do," and that sort of thing. And I'm like, "Really? Okay." It's just like, I mean, being self-critical, I don't like to believe good things, but um, of course, I mean, I do grant that I get viewership, so people, I guess, look at what I do, but it's always very humbling, as you say, when people come to you and say, "Hey, I really like what you do," and I mean, in your case, well, Dota 2 fans really like what you guys do because I mean, you took down the big bad guys in the scene, and I think you got a lot of fans along the way, and definitely lot to admire about WRG. But talking about admiring, you guys had a fairly difficult CS:GO season in 2016. We had a couple of lineup changes. In the end, there was a lot to admire about what the lineup actually achieved in the end. But certainly, it was quite difficult along the way.
Yeah, CS was definitely our challenge last year, and I do think we've stabilized quite nicely at the moment. But what happened there is it was actually a little bit unfortunate, and I can talk openly about it now because the individuals actually involved in the whole thing. We've made amends, we've chatted, and there's literally no bad blood. But so we actually approached Ian at the beginning of last year. Well, actually Clinton, which is one of his mates. And he put us in touch with Ian, and then we told Ian, okay, well, let's put a team together. This is what we do. This, Masters is coming. It's going to happen. And then Ian actually put together a fantastic team. I think, as you said, these guys really made an impact when we think back at Rage Cape Town in March last year. And I still believe that that if the team could have stuck together, it could have been better. But in the CS community, it's very, very difficult to have people stay in a team for a very long time. I picked that up very quickly as well. And unfortunately, so Kron and Krios wanted to leave to go to Flipside, which that whole experience was a little bit of an unpleasantry. And I'm pretty sure you remember the Facebook post and everything that went along with it.
Well,
Anyway,
anywhere where Wayne is involved, tends to be, the Facebook post. I like the guy. Actually, funny enough, I play matchmaking with him quite often. But yeah, he does say things.
well, you know what? It goes back to what we said. It's rather better, to have people say things, to have them keep it for themselves, and then you don't really know.
Yeah.
So, but yeah. So essentially, when that happened, that threw a massive spanner in the works because then we had to find some replacements. The replacements came in. That didn't work. The team dynamics didn't sit quite well. The goals were different. A lot of players, and this is my one gripe that I've got, is that a lot of players are only focused on the short-term performance. And with team games, you can't have that. You are going to be losing for quite a while until you start learning one another's synergies, learning the calls, learning the strats, and actually knowing that whenever you run in somewhere, someone's going to have your back. But so we struggled with that a lot until literally our last team, I think, left. When was it? I think it was in about May, around about May, June. Round about there. It was at the Gigabyte, just before the Gigabyte Dota 2 final at the Cradlestone Mall, where the team completely fell apart, and then we released all of the players. And I spoke to Andreas, and I asked him, I'm like, dude, I'm really confused here because I need a team, but it's quite difficult for me because I don't want to take individuals and have the best entry fragger, have the best support, have the best AWPer. I actually want someone that's got synergy, and then we can grow with them over time. And he actually put me in touch with Angelo Adrenaline.
Yeah.
So we actually met up with him. Also, the same story. When we met with Angelo, I got exactly the same vibe from him that we got from speaking to Ryan and the Dota 2 team. We immediately clicked, immediately loved what the guys were doing. We had a look at how they were performing on the ladder. They were doing quite well, and the team has been stable as well. And that's when we entered discussions, and then we brought them on board. And yeah, now they're doing very, very well. I mean, we've beaten APG a couple of times now. We beaten Ecstasy the other day. You will have your up and down days, but we're 100% on track with where we want to be. These guys are fantastic, and not only are they very humble, in real life when you speak to them. I do think that they've got a solid plan and in terms of where they want to go. So yeah, I've got major vision for these guys as well, and they're going to do it.
That's awesome to hear. I mean, that virtual lineup that you guys picked up was always that team that could cause damage to the top guys in tournaments. I mean, they played ESWC last year, which when they were still virtual, I mean, you had your other your previous lineup in that tournament, and they did really well there. If I recall, finishing I think it was like 6th or something out of a lot of teams. So definite stability there. And I must say about your team, which to me is impressive, is Sinner. He's a very stabilizing force. And I don't know if he's currently in game leading, but he was a guy that seems to calm everybody down, which is always good when you got excitable types in there. Um, and I mean, the guy's got a deadly deagle too. I mean, I think he's sort of underestimated on that particular weapon. But I mean, if I look at your lineup, there's good balance there. The inclusion of lighters definitely maybe threw things a little bit in the beginning, but it seems to be coming together much better now. I mean, evidenced by your 2-0 over APG on Sunday nights in DGL, which is really impressive. I mean, a very fancied lineup, that APG lineup, because it's essentially Convict from the old APG lineup plus the rest of Energy from last year. So it's
Yeah.
it's there's some pedigree there, and I mean, for you guys to 2-0 them, and I mean, particularly with the performance that Light has turned in there. Unfortunately, I don't think it was broadcast, but I mean, you look at the numbers, it's very impressive.
Yeah, I know he had a, as they would say, a cracker of a game. It was he played extremely well, but it again goes back to what I said right at the beginning, that I rate synergies way more than I rate individual skill, and I've said this from the beginning that I will never go out and look for one player. You know, for instance, I mean, Puffy is our AWPer. If there's an AWPer that's better than Puffy, there's no ways I'm actually going to look and replace Puffy with that guy, because there's a lot of other stuff that you need to take into consideration as well. Length of time that you play together, how the guys think, how they work, how the team thinks together and reacts on stuff. And we've seen it in many of our games that, I mean, Puffy had some amazing plays. As you said, Sinner, Synoptical, Hulkies, all of them had really, really amazing plays when they needed those amazing plays. You just can't replace that. And that's why I think that if teams just stick to it, so if your team continuously loses or whatever, go back to the drawing board, find what is holding you guys back, and work on that. Because as soon as you just cross those little hurdles, your entire team dynamic, your team synergies, everything changes, and you become a lot closer as a team as well. And that's why I do think that constantly chopping and changing players, yeah, fair enough. You know, the international scene we see do it, but you still have your core players, which they hang on to. And that is the important bit. Keep your core stable and fix what's broken in the team. If it can't be fixed, then replace. But replace should literally be your last option.
Yeah, I'd agree with you. I mean, if we take some CS:GO examples in the international scene of exactly what you're talking about, you got Virtus Pro is basically the longest standing lineup
Yeah,
in I think in esports history, not just CS:GO, as far as I've read lately. And I mean, they're constantly changing roles. If the team gets stagnant, then they're going, okay, well, you were our AWPer, now you're something else. Now you're our AWPer. So it's just
yeah,
kind of trying to keep it fresh and keep it dynamic, but they keep the same people. And I mean, a year ago, the people were shouting at that team to change the lineups and drop Pasha and all of this sort of stuff, and then he delivers amazing performances this year in the major, in the final. They win. What was it, DreamHack Vegas? So I mean, it's just amazing to see, also players that are older achieving as well. But then
yeah.
the flip side, sorry to use that word, of this whole thing is
Touche.
then well, then you got ninjas in pajamas who have the same four people always together, and they always change the fifth player who's the scapegoat every time things go sort of tits up, which is also probably not the right way to approach it. I mean, we're talking about guys who've been in their team since 2012, 2013. So you got to kind of say, okay, well, they had their chance. I mean, thankfully, I mean, in South African esports, we're still quite young in it in relation to that. I mean, your guys have been together for probably a year and a half, maybe. In a couple of cases, I think they've been playing together for maybe more like 2 years. But
Mm.
still, I mean, it's not sort of a going back to 2013 thing. So there's still plenty of tactical variety that can come in your lineup, and I like that approach, honestly. Like, this wholesale change of your entire lineup kind of thing is bad for a team. And I mean, you went through a bit of that last year, but I mean, not quite to the degree of like a veneration, say, but
Yeah.
I mean, that was like, okay, who's playing this week sort of vibe.
No, look, I think the scene where I think the scene is going to be changing, and I think it's going to change a lot quicker than what people actually think it's going to change. But with the Masters and all of these higher tier competitions coming into the country as well, I think what is going to start happening is you're going to have that clear cut first tier. And a lot of organizations, like ourselves, are creating those second tier teams as well. And if I look at my second tier CSGO team and my first tier CSGO team, I think the guys can stand toe to toe. You know, they take maps off one another, and that's essentially what you want. And like with traditional sport, what you're going to start finding is that your pro players, whenever there's a guy that doesn't deliver, he's going to be moved to sub. Or he's going to be moved to the second tier teams until we've got a big enough player pool in South Africa where we can actually have that up and down movement. I don't think that it's really healthy to just chop and change players the whole time. What you are going to be finding when the industry does grow and we can start paying players salaries, start paying players incentive bonuses, all of those kind of things, we're going to get to a point where I can legitimately bench a guy and say that, you know what, you're actually not performing, so I'm benching you. So I'm still paying your salary, but you won't be benefiting from any winnings or any bonus structures or whatever because you're not playing, which will then either create a need for the low tier players to actually play up, or that player to actually correct and actually get up to that skill again. It's coming, and I think it's going to happen quite soon. And I really, really do hope that we see that within the next year, max 2, because I think that is really going to change the competition scene in South Africa.
I 100% agree with you there, and I mean that's an extra step towards professionalism as well. And professional sports, you can see, again, people don't like to compare, but in terms of structures, esports is a sport. I mean, it's a competitive environment, so it's good to learn from what those guys do. And as you say, I also believe within the next year things are going to change quite rapidly. And I think fans are still sort of sitting back at all of those of us industry people who are saying these things, going, "Yeah, right, we'll see it one day." But believe me, you shall, dear fan. It's coming.
Yeah, I mean, they don't know what's going on in the, behind the scenes. I mean, if they know what we know that's going on behind the scenes, I think a lot of people would be a lot more excited about what's coming. So I guess it's just wait and see. If SuperSport dropping the news that that they're going to be having a permanent esports channel isn't big enough for you, then I don't know. I'm not so sure. Hey, you should really start crawling out under that rock that you've been living in. So
Yeah, I think fans always like to go with the pessimistic approach at times, just to be a little bit careful about it. But yeah, big things are coming, and companies like to sort of sit on their hands for a bit and keep it quiet, let their opponents have their thunder, and then kind of swoop in and go, "We're even bigger," kind of thing. And I think we're going
yeah,
to
yeah.
see a couple of those scenarios play out this year, which is exciting for the scene. I'm really excited about it. I think maybe an interesting subject to just quickly touch on is, I mean, you're an MGO owner. We've established that, or with the rich history that we've delved into here. So, I mean, at events, what was interesting to me last year, I mean, having played the year before and in a less professional environment before the advent of Masters, I mean, I kind of saw what was at DGC, and it's like literally like you're in a room with chairs and that's all there is, and you go outside and you can buy yourself a hot dog or some chips or something, and that's kind of all there is. And then you know in the events in the last year where it's becoming more professional, there's some water available for the players and things like that, but it's still not quite at the real sports, well, shouldn't I say real sports, physical sports space. As an MGO owner, you see what happens at events. I mean, do you feel local tournament organizers could give the teams a little bit more of a comfortable environment to be in, like a green room somewhere to chill in between games? Refreshments, food, that sort of thing. Because I always find that's a problem. I mean, even as a commentator, I'm at an event and I'm like just worked for like 6 hours or something, and I'm just desperate to go somewhere else. And you're at a trade expo or something, so there is literally nowhere else you can go that's not noisy and busy and whatever. I mean, do you feel that kind of behind the scenes sort of catering to the comfort of the players is something that you'd like to see a little bit more?
Yep, definitely, without a doubt. I think the best example I can use here is what happened at WESG in Dubai. Those guys really know how to run tournaments. I mean, you had the hall that was obviously decorated with the stages, with the lights, but they also had a second piece behind that where all of the offline games were played. But over and above that, if you walk out and you walked a little bit down one of the corridors, they had an entire section with where players could eat and where the players got served. And then you could go and sit. You can go and sit in lounges or just away from all of that noise. And I think it's really important because these guys face a lot of stress, a lot of pressure in those environments. So I do think if tournament organizers can actually create something where where these guys can just go unwind and not worry about being trampled by the crowd, or having to deal with all of the noise, where they can literally just go, maybe sit and play some games on their phone, have a meal, a decent meal, is actually quite important as
Well, yeah, I
well.
mean, it's always burgers and chips, right? And
It-
that ain't
it-
by day 3. I think you feel like you've picked up some horrible disease from whatever you're eating. You're not feeling so good anymore.
No, exactly. So if you've got somewhere where these guys can really go and unwind, I think it will do two things. One, it will create a lot of confidence in that player, and also it will make them feel like a little bit of a celebrity, because you've got the pass. So if you think about rock concerts, the
Yeah,
backstage passes, so you've got a backstage pass. You can go in there. There's a lot of benefits that it can be derived, but I think the most important one is actually creating somewhere where these guys can sit and just chill and vibe a bit.
I think so. Also coming back to that whole engaging with the fans thing, I think if you have an opportunity to chill, you're a lot more open to engaging with people because you're not. It's not just this continuation of noise. There was noise where you were playing, when you stop playing in that booth and you walk out, there's noise happening, and it
Mm.
just doesn't ever go away. And then eventually it starts to sort of fray your nerves. I mean, it's a psychological thing. I mean, if you exposed to constant noise, I mean, in the workplace they give you earplugs and stuff like that. Um, I think it'll just be better all around for the mood. I mean, perhaps I asked you a leading question because I wanted you to say that, but
Oh,
I'm
well,
I'm glad that you agree because it's just I look at it and go, I mean, of course I'm not a player anymore, and I never got the opportunity to experience that level of hospitality. But when I look at it, I go, it's something that I think would just take the experience for the players over the top, and also media. I mean, we walk in and go and interview a guy in a quiet place instead of like fighting some like cosplayer with a giant sword or something. To like talk to this guy. I think that would be hashtag progress.
no, completely agree with you. I think that's very, very, very valid points as well. It's because interviewing people in noisy places is just so uncomfortable.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially when you have to wear a suit, and if depending on who you're employed by. I mean, me, it's usually as a broadcaster, so suit jacket on it goes, and I'm like, sweating buckets over there. But if
Jacket in your notebook.
oh, geez, yeah. So finally, let's talk a little bit about the future for WRG. You've created an amazing brand. You've got great sponsors. You've got two really good teams. I mean, Dota team on track for continuing the championship run this year. The CS:GO team definitely on the up. I mean, there's every possibility they can break into that sort of top 4 this year. I know your ambition probably goes more than that, but what's the future for WRG? Let's talk about 2017. Where do you see it going? And let's talk about it beyond in a more sort of abstract way.
Sure, this is going to be quite hard. Without giving away like a great deal of detail. Look, there is one announcement coming. Probably around about March, April, probably around about April. Um, yeah, so that is going to be one of the bigger moves for us this year. That puts us on a lot more focused path in terms of focusing on our teams and players. We do have some other ideas as well that we want to get a little bit more closer to the community. As I said, we want more people to play games. We want more parents to see how their kids actually engage and how they play games and what this is all about and things like that. But we really don't want to lose what we have at the moment. So we've got a really good formula working for us, but we don't want to stagnate. We actually want to build on that. Um, yeah, I mean, we sent out so many proposals during the start of the year already. It's really really actually sickening to see how many we send out, and unfortunately, people just don't want to get involved, which then means you've actually got to make other plans. And thank goodness, we've got 3 guys running the MGO that all have professional careers, and we face challenges every single day. I mean, Wayne's a chartered accountant. Myself, I'm in branding and marketing and research, and then you've got Martin. He's like a very technical guy. So, sorry, whenever we have these issues that we are facing, we make it work. So I can't give away too much. All I can
Well,
say is that
don't give away too much.
in March and April there will be something that's coming through, and probably around about May, June there will be more news coming through, and yeah, we've probably got about 3 or 4 really big things lined up this year, which I think people are going to love in general, not necessarily only specific individuals, but it's something that that everyone can get excited about, and essentially everyone can be part of, which is really cool.
Well, that's awesome. I'm really excited to see where this is gonna go. So let's call it right now. CS:GO team, where they're gonna end this year? Give me a number.
CS:GO, I would say top 3.
Top 3. Okay. Well, that's bold.
Yeah,
I
I'll
don't
commit
know.
to that.
Sure. Okay. Well, let's see how that works out. Maybe we'll try this again next year, and we'll see where you got. Dota. I mean, I think you guys are a shoo-in, but everybody wants to knock you off the throne, right?
Look, I think the one thing that I learned over the past 2 years is that there's always a team that's better than you, and the competitive scene in South Africa, as I said, is growing. We're definitely not growing too comfortable. We know our strengths and limitations, but it's really important that you never stop growing. So I would say that even though White Rabbit Gaming, and once again saying this with all humility, that our team is very strong, and we know that. But it's not to say that one person or 2 people can't have a bad day, and someone like APG, or XD or Energy or whoever, can't come back and actually take that. But yeah, I love my boys, full confidence in them, and I'm going to put my my head on a block and say they're going to win this year.
Fantastic. I love it. Confidence is good. I like how you say in all humility. I just say everything with a tremendous amount of arrogance. So that works for me. But I like your humility there. It's great.
I just need to state it, so
Yeah, just keep the haters at arm's length. Sort of push them away.
I've got enough people that think that I'm a horrible person. I don't need any more. So
yeah, well, join the club. Jeez,
it's
it's
part
an
of the job, I guess.
occupational hazard. Yeah, as you're saying, it is what it is. But this video is what it is, and I think it's great. I really hope people have enjoyed it. I appreciate your time, man. Really, really do. You're about to go on holiday. Not many people would want to talk right before then, when they should probably be packing their speedo.
I'm off to do that like shortly. So,
I really hope you don't have a speedo. But
no, friends don't let friends wear speedos.
No, not at all. But hey, man, really, it has been a pleasure. You are an officer and a gentleman, my good man.
Dude, thank you very much. It was really a pleasure talking to you.
Cool. Well, thanks, guys, for joining us. That's, of course, Alwyn, SwiTch, the owner of WRG, and I'm Extremes. Axe out.
Cheers, dude. Take care.
Cheers.